2018 was a sea change for the Cloud9 organisation and its League of Legends aspirations. It was the last year of franchise face Jensen's tenure and also saw the introduction of rookies who would play a key role over the coming years. There were the lows of a quarter-final elimination in LCS and then a return to the finals. There were more battles with TSM of differing flavours, and at one point in time you could be forgiven for thinking the starting lineup was picked with a spin wheel. Internationally, what looked to be a troubling set of early omens transmuted into North America's best ever run at Worlds. 2018 was the year of change. 2017 had been a year that had held the seeds of what would become familiar storylines in 2018. There was a quarter-final elimination for a team ever used to at least a finals appearance as an expectation, yet at Worlds the team had never been in a better position, pushing China's Team WE to 5 games but narrowly missing out on a semi-final spot. The off-season had brought 2 significant changes, as veteran and famously consistent top laner Impact departed and was replaced by the bold insertion of rookie Licorice. In the jungle, C9 let contracts go as the rookie jungler had shown promise but struggled later in the season. He was replaced by Svenskeren, a 3-time LCS champion in TSM but who'd seen many struggles and been massively scrutinised by fans. The spring split would be a rollercoaster affair. C9 never dipped below 3rd place in the standings and finished 3 of the weeks in 1st. Alas, it was the bottom end of the curve of performance that manifested in the final week, as they lost to Team Liquid in a 0-2 week and thus dropped to an 11-7 record and a convoluted tie for 3rd place. Losing the tiebreaker bracket for 3rd to Team Liquid in the first round, a win over Clutch Gaming at least locked in 5th. Unfortunately, that meant facing the very same Team Liquid in the first round of the playoffs. 4 C9 players made the All-LCS teams, but none cracked the first team. Jensen and Smoothie were voted 2nd team, and Sven and Sneaky made 3rd. Svenskeren's award showing that he had been repurposed from the lost figure he had been at the end of his time with TSM. Licorice was also voted Rookie of the Split. The playoffs brought an immediate elimination in the quarterfinals, which was a tough blow in the context of the previous split's similar finish. Still, the 3-0 sweep from Team Liquid was much closer than the lack of games won would suggest, and the very same Team Liquid would turn out to be the best team in the region and win their first title with Doublelift. That result, and the strong run through most of the spring, meant some could argue perhaps C9 had been the 2nd best team in the league. Summer Split was the wildest of Cloud9's time in the LCS. A number of substitute players had been added and were very much being considered for playing time in the starting lineup. Superstar Jensen began the split benched, missing the first 4 games, and thus it would be Academy stud Golden Glue playing mid lane. The bot lane of Sneaky and Smoothie were benched too, so Keith and Zazel came in for the first 4 games. C9 began 1-1, but lost all 4 games over week 2 and 3, leaving them in 10th place, dead last. The blow was enormous for fans who expected C9 to be contenders in the playoffs and were missing some of their favourite names playing their normal positions. Week 3 had seen Jensen return, but to play ADC instead of Keith and joined by the also returning Smoothie. Jack and C9 continued to stand by Reaped, who went full mad professor and continued tinkering with his lineups to find the right formula for success. In week 4, Jensen again resumed mid lane duties, and the Sneaky and Zazel bot lane was back as the team won a game. There were still struggles though, as the 5th week had Blabber inserted and brought a 1-1 record that again saw C9 hit the bottom of the standings. Reaped had found his mix though. From weeks 6 to 7, the team won all 4 of their games, with Blabber, Jensen, Sneaky and Zazel all starters. The team was tied for 4th now and very much headed to the playoffs. One last experiment had Svenskeren and Golden Glue inserted as the jungle mid-duo, dubbed the Swole Bros by fans for their athletic builds, against reigning champions TL in a game C9 would win. For the last 3 games of the split, Reaped went back to their now established lineup and the team won out. From a 3-7 record at the end of week 5, a 30% win rate, the team had won 8 straight games and climbed from 10th to undisputed 2nd in the standings by the end of the split. It was little wonder that Reaped was awarded Coach of the Split, and fans felt assured in their faith in Jack's wisdom in unleashing his Korean mastermind on the lineups. Blabber won Rookie of the Split, sweeping those awards for C9 in Season 8 and asserting the success of their player development. Jensen was awarded All-LCS First Team ahead of rival Bjergsen, overcoming the initial disappointment of his suspension. Licorice, Sneaky and Zazel all made All-LCS Second Team. In the semi-finals, C9 met a familiar foe as TSM squared off against them yet again, with both teams hoping to add another trophy to their cabinets. TSM got the better in the first portion of the series, going up 2-1, only for Reaper to pull his trap card and insert Svenskeren and Golden Glue for the last 2 games. Both did their jobs, with Golden Glue on Malzahar duty, and C9 came through in the clutch against TSM for the first time in the org's history. Not since Season 4 Spring Finals, where only Sneaky was playing for the team, had C9 beaten TSM in a BO5 series. Again, Reaper's substitutions took the limelight and showcased his unusual approach to matchups. In the final, it would be a rematch against the Team Liquid squad, who were both reigning champions and had eliminated C9 in the previous split. Doublelift was playing under impossible circumstances, and the day belonged to him as he carried his team to a second title and a second 3-0 sweep. Reaper had tried all of his combinations, with Blabber and Jensen starting, the Swole Bros coming in for Game 2, and then the usual combo of Sven and Jensen in the third, but nothing had worked. At the regional qualifier, C9 would wait in the final and face TSM for a second time in a few weeks. This time, the Blabber and Jensen duo got to get it done, completing a 3-0 sweep over TSM and giving Jensen the satisfaction he had longed for against Bjergsen for so many years. C9 would be attending Worlds as they had done every year, while the old enemy TSM would for a second year watch from home. So much for the 10th place team in the split at one point. Finishing as the 3rd seed for LCS meant entering Worlds in the play-in portion. C9 swept their group, beating Japan's Detonation Focus Me and Brazil's Kaboom with their normal lineup. In the qualifier series, they faced CIS's Gambit, featuring some familiar names from LOL history, and hit their first speed bump in a while against anyone but elite competition. With the series tied after 2 games, Reaper put Svenskeren in, they won the game, and he would largely be the jungler for the team from there on out in their Worlds campaign. Gambit pushed the series to 5, but C9 overcame a tense 5th game and secured a main event slot. C9 looked to have a tricky group, as so often had been the case. They had China's RNG, a team who had won everything that year and were gunning for the Grand Slam. Gen G were a surprise appearance, but the reigning world champions. Finally, there would be no breaks as gimmicky but volatile EU side Vitality rounded out the group. Many expected the 2 Asian teams to advance and leave the Westerners scratching their heads as usual. Could anyone really hope for a C9 that had gone to 5 games with Gambit to compete with these teams? The group began in line with expectations as C9 lost to RNG and Gen G, but were able to beat Vitality. Blabber had been given a chance in that Gen G match, but the loss meant we had seen the last of him for this Worlds. On the second week of play, the one so infamous for seeing NA failure, C9 again showed they warmed up as tournaments went on. They would beat Gen G with Licorice showing off on Hecarim. Then came an unexpected win over RNG, with Sneaky shocking the world against the monster that was Uzi Eye. Such upsets would not be enough yet, though, as the last game against Vitality would decide which team made the playoffs. C9 completed their 3-game sweep of the second round robin on the back of a big Zillion performance from Jensen. C9 would lose a tiebreaker for first with RNG, but even making the playoffs had again involved a big turnaround and the lineup evolving in the span of weeks. Reaper's stock looked better once more. Facing a Freak of Freaks in the quarterfinals was a rough draw on paper, but still the best to get out of the other first-place group finishers. Korean Worlds teams didn't lose best of 5 series to Western teams, and C9 were battling history as well as the Freaks. Fans yet again learned you could never count out this C9 lineup. They would sweep the series, becoming the first Western team to ever beat a top Korean team in such a series at Worlds. Svenskeren and Jensen had established their synergy at last, and it flourished in this series. The semi-finals saw the first matchup of 2 Western teams in history at that stage, ensuring one team would become the first to make a Worlds final. The opponent was Fnatic, who had won both domestic splits and just beaten EDG in the quarters. Licorice and Jensen had a tough time in the solo lanes, where Fnatic rookie Bwipo was popping off and mid Caps was the best non-Asian player in the world. The miracle run had come to a close, but with a very respectable finish. C9 were NA's first representative to make the semi-finals. The off-season would bring more change as Jensen left on a high, sadly never getting an LCS trophy in C9 colours, but helping establish the organisation that had gambled on him 3 years earlier as world semi-finalists. C9 had overcome so many challenges that season, integrating rookie players, experimenting with lineups, bouncing back from last place and eventually going deep at Worlds. They'd even asserted themselves as TSM's betters again. As fans of other NA teams bemoaned their side's results, C9 fans again knew they could trust the process that Jack and Reaper were utilising to manifest results before their eyes.